Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to use masking fluid, which is something I like to use when I want to keep an area of a flower, let's say, completely void of color if I'm doing a big wash of color. It's not something you'll use in every single painting, but it is really handy for many situations when you are painting. For example, in the video I'm going to show you today, I'm doing a painting where I have a foreground and a background, and I use this to mask off the foreground so I can really focus on what is going on in the background without having to avoid the subject matter in the front. In this video, I will also share some tips that you can use to make sure that you ensure the longevity of your brushes going forward, because this product is a little tricky to work with. And I will also teach you how to safely remove it so your paper doesn't get damaged. It's an awesome product and I'm excited to dive in with you. So let's get going. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how I use the Winsor & Newton art masking fluid to block out the foreground of my painting here. I'm going to be doing a quail in front of some cactus. This is a painting for my grandpa. So the materials you'll need are, I have little cheap brushes that I'm not worried about if they get slightly damaged, because masking fluid is very glue-like and really sticks to your brushes. So you'll need the masking fluid. I have a paper towel here, some water, and I have this bar of soap. And then to remove later, you'll use a little rubber cement. The bar of soap is helpful and necessary to keep the masking fluid separate from your brushes. So if you went straight in, just water into the masking fluid, it actually makes it really difficult to remove. What the soap does is it creates a little protective barrier over the top of the bristles, and then it makes it easier to remove afterwards. So I'm just making sure there's no leftover color on this brush. I'm not sure the last time I used that. And you'll see it's a little separated, so I'm just gonna lightly mix it back and forth. I'm not shaking it at all because it would create a lot of bubbles, and those bubbles are hard to work with. So you open it up and you'll just see it. It's just liquid inside. And what I'll do is I'll take my wet brush onto the soap to make sure there's a nice fine layer. And what I'm blocking out is gonna be the quail and the little cactus. I want them to stay free of color when I do my wash of the Arizona desert behind it. So again, make sure there has that soap layer. Dip into your masking fluid, and then you just paint over the area you want to keep void of watercolor. And you want it to be fairly thick layers, and because that will really ensure that the paint will not settle underneath the masking fluid. There are times where I've done way too thin of layers that I didn't realize the paper was still kind of poking through. So when I went to do my big wash of color, it ruined what I was trying to block. So that was a learning curve. So again, you know, I might even go in with my bigger flat brush here. So same technique. Get the soap all on the edges. Go ahead and dip in and brush it on. So we're just blocking our area. You can see I got kind of out of the lines right there, so I'm gonna wait for that to dry and then I'll remove that bit actually. Because I don't think, let's see, I don't think removing it with a paper towel will be the right move, but we can try. Yeah. No, see, I'm gonna wait for that to dry. Making it, no, it's being silly. Okay. Now to the head. And I'm gonna go back into my smaller brush quickly. It's not that small, so I gotta be careful with it. To do the little doinky guy at the top. What is that called? I don't know, it's so cute though. And you'll notice it's getting like darker as it dries, but you'll be able to see it the entire time you're painting. I'm sure they do have clear ones. Actually, I'm pretty positive there are clear masking fluids, but I like to see what I'm working with. Okay, I'm just gonna do it again. I kind of overcompensate and do this over and over because I really don't want my brushes to get ruined. And the little legs, little legs. I can just see it's kind of thin over on this side, so I'll just add a second. Work in the extra layers. Make sure we're feeling good about that. And then I'm gonna do the same with the cactus. But first what I'm gonna do is actually take my I'm gonna take my kneadable eraser and just use that to soften the sketch. You don't necessarily have to use this masking fluid if you want to just work around your shapes, but for me, this just kind of takes the guesswork out of it, and then I can kind of just be a little bit more mindless when I start painting with the big blocks of color. Also, all of these materials that I use are listed in the video where I was organizing my art trolley. If you want, I'll link that below if you guys want to go take a look. All the products are listed in that description box. Okay. And then I'm just gonna do the exact same thing on the cactus. Okay. These brushes are slightly big. You can see what I mean, like it's collecting in there. But if you kind of just like twist it on your paper towel, it should free up the hardened masking fluid. But that's why the soap is so important, because it just lives inside of those bristles, no matter what you do. I need to get a smaller brush. Smaller. Into the water. Into the brush. Make sure it's covered in soap. There we go. Glob it on. Okay. I can see a mist up at the top. It's pretty thin on that side over here. And we'll go in to the third cactus in the bag. Why am I so shaky? No one knows. Might as well just do this mound while I'm at it. And what I was saying about down on the tails, how it came off a little bit. So I'll take my little rubber cement and I'm actually gonna just remove that section. And paint it back in. Okay. And that is how you apply masking fluid. So I'm just gonna go ahead and close that up. So you'll just wait for that to dry. And you can tell it's dry either by touch or just by waiting for it visually. The color gets a little bit darker. And you just want, so you have your masking fluid, little bar of soap, your brushes, and water. And just make sure to get clean water when you do start your painting. You don't want to use gluey water. Okay, so some time has passed and I have just taped down my paper. The masking fluid is completely dry. You don't want it to have any wetness or anything, or you risk your watercolor seeping through underneath and that just destroys all the work that you've done. Because this paper is in one of my watercolor pads where it's not a block, so it's not glued down on all four sides, I chose to remove it from the actual little book and tape down the edges because I will be using a lot of water to get a bit of like a blurring effect in the background. It'll still buckle and bow a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it because once it dries, it's fine. So I think what I'm gonna start with is actually the sky. I don't do landscapes a lot, so I've practiced a bit of what I wanna do with like the mountains, but it is going to be a bit of a, we'll see how it goes. But I am gonna start with the sky. So I also have, I want there to be some like clouds. So I just have a little bit of paper towel here that after I paint on, so I'll use my water, do a wash of color, and where I want the clouds to be, I'll just, I'll pick it up and remove the color while it's wet. So I'm gonna use just this nice flat brush to carve out the mountain shape and completely saturate the area. And I'm planning on using this number 6 Winsor Newton Cotman round brush to place in the blue. We'll see if that works. For my sky color, which you can see right here, I mixed together just like some cerulean blue and a little mountain blue and kind of created a little mix like this. But let's give it a go. So I'm tapping my brush into the water, and you'll notice as I cover this area, I'm just gonna completely paint over the masking fluid because that's what it's there for, to block my area. So I'm carving around the mountains. And just making sure the area is evenly saturated with water. I don't need it too soaking wet, but I just want to make sure that I'm carving that area. And I'm choosing to do the sky first because the mountains I can always paint over the little bit of the overlap. Okay, so that's wet. And you know what? I think I might actually just go in with this brush and pick up my blue. And I'm really gonna water it down. And now let's you can see I'm just taking back and forth motions, and I know that the areas that I masked off will stay clear. I'll add a little bit more towards the top because watercolor dries down a lot lighter than what you see when it's first wet. And I'll just like let it bleed in. I don't usually reach for this brush, but I'm really glad I did for this situation. Okay. Very nice. Now to do the style of clouds, I might actually rip this a little bit tinier. While it's damp, I want there to be clouds back here. A new spot on the paper towel. I want there to be clouds down by the horizon. And I'm not being too fussy. It's gonna all blend and bleed and do what it wants. All the Bob Ross, you know? Love that. I don't think I'm gonna mess with that anymore. That is a very hard task for me. I think the other spot that I'll do here as well is, I might as well just put the sand in. So I'll mix up that color really quick. Okay, so for the sand color, if you can see, I kind of just mixed up some Naples yellow and a little bit of like a brown red color just to make it a little like grungy. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. And with my paddle brush, I'm gonna make sure there is zero blue pigment left in my brush because that would just be such a bummer. So I'm cleaning that off right now. Now this little scene takes place in the Tucson desert. So the sand is like a nice beigey, yellowy sand color. And these are the mountains. If I didn't say, this is a gift from my grandfather. And this is the mountain range that was behind his home. And these little quails he tells me nice stories where these quails used to run across their yard. And they just are the cutest little birds. And then these 3 cactus I'm doing as a representation of his 3 children. Okay. So now for the bottom, I'm not gonna worry too much about it being like super precise right now, because right now this is just the base layer and I can add more detail if I want to. But again, clean brush, same concept. Like before, paint over your masking fluid and just make sure everything is lightly and evenly saturated. Man, I really like this brush. I'm gonna use this more. Okay, and it's a no-name brush, but it's doing what I need. So I'm gonna pick up my beigey mix, make sure it's all mixed together, really water it down heavily, and I'll start at the bottom. Might be a little too watery. That's okay. Yeah. You could even kind of take, or do the same thing that I did with clouds. I might let it dry a little bit more. I'll test it over here. Some people, there's that like technique that you can do. I was just thinking about this, that you can put like salt on your watercolor. I don't think that right now that would have much of an effect because it's such a light color, but I can make it look a little pebbly. I don't really play with those kind of things that often, but it's an idea. Let's make it a little bit more like beigey brown red at the bottom. Let's kick that up a little bit. So I'm just mixing some color in my pan. Just gonna dabble it through and then just remove it. It's just like the ghost of what's there when I use this paper towel. It's fine. That's what we want right now. Nothing crazy. Okay, now this is just like kind of a scrap piece of paper that I practice what I want to do on the mountains in the background. I've never done a technique like this. I think it, like, obviously it's pretty meh, but you can see like we're having like the sun hit really hard, pulling really nice, warm and bright oranges and pinks on the fronts of these mountains, and then it filters back into like these blues and purples. What I did was I got the entire practice area damp, and then I actually placed in my pinks first. And while those were still wet, I then put in, well, not really, they weren't wet, they were lightly damp. Then I put in my blues and kind of overlapped them in areas. You can kind of see there it was like slightly overlapped. And I think it actually turned out okay, because while this in the background is, I don't want it to be very detailed at all. It's supposed to be it's completely out of focus because it's supposed to be just like so far back. And then the foreground is going to be this like green wash of color as well down here, which will be like the shrubs and where people live at the base of these mountains, the Catalina Mountains. But so I could probably, I'm just checking, I could do that. So down here, this part is where the green is going to be, and this is the top of the mountains. So I think the best thing to do here is just to try. So these are the colors that I'm planning on using. Since this is not really a tutorial on the colors of what I'm painting, it's more of a tutorial on how to use masking fluid. I won't really show those, but God, the one thing is, I'll tell you, cat hair sticks to masking fluid like nobody's business. So something to be aware of. Now, something I could do is use these as my dividers, work in little sections by sections, which obviously I think I'll have to kind of do over here. But I think that would make it really disjointed. I want to get the entire area wet first. Yeah, and then build up from there. Okay. Okay, yep, the only thing left to do is paint it. And I won't lie, I'm a little nervous about it. I want this to turn out well, obviously. It's a gift. But what are you gonna do? You gotta make some moves sometimes. So again, I'll use my flat paddle brush to get the area wet. And this is gonna be a lot of control or a lot of practice of knowing the quality or like how wet something is. Like you need to know the amount of water to be able to have like some control over it. Okay, so we're cutting into those mountains. So I'm using the angle of my head off camera and like the light of my setup to see what the water is looking like, how much there is by just like the reflection. So you want good lighting when you're doing this because that can also give you insight into your paper's saturation. So I'm gonna start with right behind this first cactus, the peachy. So it's nice and bright. Back here, look, some orange. See, it's a little wet, that's okay. Down here, down here. We're just getting the gist. Okay, a little peachy, so then there's a break in the ridge. Peachy up here to show that it's sun's hitting it. That's really nice. And then it breaks down over to here. I have my reference photo in front of me. Always important. So I'm still making sure it's wet enough. Yep, keep going. hitting on the edge, the ridge is there. This is a little bit more orangey peach. Right down here. Why I didn't do this spot first is because if the paper was too saturated and wet, this would have just bled everywhere, and I wanted this to have a little bit more control right there. And a little here. Tap it in. There's a little there. And then over on this side. It's a lot more directly in sun. And what's nice about having my cactuses and my quail blocked off is I don't have to worry at all about avoiding them. I'm just painting what I need to, and I will worry about them afterwards. More back here. That connected over to the top of this ridge. A little up here. Through the part. And I like that it looked like it connected through. See how I can just cut right over and make sure my line is crisp. Okay. This obviously turned into a mess, but our darker colors will save us. And then back here is peachy orange. It's pretty much this whole crest. This whole face, I guess, is what it would be. And then it disperses down. You can see that paper didn't stay very wet, so then I'll take my brush and just kind of blur it. So this is like a bluish. So I'm gonna place in the more like jutty cliff edge parts. It does go right here. Clean off my brush, tap it off, and I'm gonna just kind of like blend them slightly together. A little bit more purpley back here, it looks like. Kind of waters out. So I'm using the cool tones of the blue to carve out the shadows. Okay, I'm gonna work on this off camera. Okay. Shh, shh. We don't look at her. We don't talk about her. She's mean. better. It's better. It's not great. I don't think this will ever be like great, but I just have to like roll with it, you know? Okay, I'm gonna call it. I just need to, I don't know, scrub that out. Is it doing anything? Nope. Okay, but we'll keep going. That's gonna have to do, okay? To force myself to stop messing with this background, I'm gonna remove the masking fluid. Let it dry completely. My background, there is no moisture left in it. I even took my blow dryer on its cool setting to really make sure it's dry. And I'm just feeling with like the palm of my hand and the side of my hand to make sure we're all good. Okay, so to remove, I'll start with like the little cactus. This is called rubber cement. I don't know, it should be just like a rubber sponge or something, but that's what it's called. So you just take like a corner and you just go in little circles, and you can see it starts to remove the masking fluid. And you just want to be gentle because you don't want to chew up your paper too much. And now you can see why I was saying you really want to use not your best brushes to use masking fluid, because it is lethal. It will stick if you don't remove it quickly off your brushes. But by using that bar of soap that I showed in the beginning, it really does help protect it slightly. And you just want to be patient. But you just roll it in circles and it doesn't damage your paper. And my cactus are free. Now it's on to Miss Thang. I'm really excited to paint this one. Slowly but surely. But you just want to be patient. And you can see it's removing my pencil sketch underneath. So I'll need to redraw that if I want those details back. But we're close. Come on, come on. And voila! She's back and ready to be painted. The paper still feels good. Looks good, there's no tearing. I love it. Okay, so you can see I did paint the cactus off camera. I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing and just wanted to kind of enjoy that process without filming. But so what I think now, since this isn't meant to be a full tutorial, this is just this isn't meant to be like a painting tutorial. My plan now is I think I'm just going to paint the quail without explaining what I'm doing and just let you watch and enjoy the rest of this video. So I'm going to probably leave you here with my voiceover, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some good information and you feel a little bit more confident in using masking fluid, and will hopefully use some of it in your practice going forward. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions or comments. But I guess that's it. I'm just gonna paint my little quail.